The moon hung low and bright above the arena, glowing like a cold eye watching everything below. The huge stone circle was crowded with wolves in human form, warriors, elders, and young trainees. But all their eyes were fixed on one girl standing alone in the center. Her name was Lyra, and tonight was supposed to be her moment to prove herself. Instead, there was only silence, heavy and sharp. Lyra felt the weight of every stare. She kept her hands tight at her sides and tried to breathe. She knew the rules. Every young wolf had to shift for the first time before the clans. It was their way of showing they were true members. But she had never shifted, not even once. Not when she tried alone at night. Not when she tried during training. Not even when the healers whispered old spells to help her. Nothing ever happened. The elders watched her with cold faces. They already believed she would fail. Rumors had spread for years. They called her strange. Weak. A mistake. Tonight, if she did not shift, she would be marked forever. She would no longer belong to any clan. Lyra swallowed hard. She wished she could run, hide, disappear. But she stood still. She knew running would make everything worse. High above the arena sat the Alpha King. His throne was carved from white stone, glowing under the moonlight. He was tall, sharp-eyed, and powerful. The strongest wolf in the land. He watched Lyra with an unreadable expression, like he was trying to see something inside her. The head elder raised a staff. The crowd grew even quieter. Lyra, the elder said, his voice echoing, "Call your wolf." Lyra closed her eyes. She tried to breathe slowly. She tried to imagine the shift, the pull of her inner wolf, the way the others described it. A spark of energy. A heat in the chest. A voice inside. She felt nothing. No spark. No warmth. Only the cold air touching her skin. Her heart pounded. She squeezed her eyes tighter and tried again. She tried so hard her whole body shook. Still nothing. Soft whispers rose from the crowd. She's wolfless. She has no wolf inside her. She should never have been here. Lyra felt their words like knives. But she did not give up. She couldn't. She whispered in her mind, begging whatever was inside her to wake up. Please, please just shift once. Please don't let this be the end. She felt a tiny flutter in her chest. A strange feeling she had never felt before. It was faint, weak, like a small knock on a far door. Lyra gasped. Her eyes flew open. The head elder stopped speaking. Even the crowd grew still. Something had moved inside her. She felt it again, a strange stirring like a deep breath taken far away. Not strong enough to shift but strong enough to surprise her. The moonlight around her feet flickered. The air vibrated softly. And then, silence again. The feeling faded. The tiny movement inside her slipped away like water through fingers. The elders stared at her, confused, worried, maybe even a little scared. They had never seen the moonlight react like that. Lyra pressed a hand to her chest. The moment had been real. She was sure of it. But she could not bring it back. Enough, another elder said. She cannot shift. The trial is complete. Lyra wanted to speak, to say she felt something, to explain she wasn't wolfless. But her voice stuck in her throat. The elders were already turning away. The crowd began to murmur again. Some were disappointed. Some were angry. Others just shook their heads. A group of guards stepped forward to escort her out of the arena. That was the rule. Failed wolves did not stay among the clans. Lyra's eyes burned. She looked up at the moon. It should have helped her. It should have been her friend. But tonight it felt distant. Just as the guards reached her, a sudden ripple of light moved across the arena floor. Everyone froze. The ground beneath Lyra glowed faintly, just for a heartbeat, and then dimmed again. What was that? Someone whispered. The elders exchanged tense looks. The Alpha King stood from his throne for the first time. His golden eyes locked on Lyra. He seemed focused, almost alarmed. Like he had seen something no one else saw. Lyra's pulse raced. Had he noticed the strange movement inside her? The head elder stepped closer to the Alpha King and lowered his voice, but the arena was quiet enough for many to hear. "My king," the elder whispered, "this should not be possible." The Alpha King answered softly. Something responded to her. Something old. A chill ran down Lyra's spine. She did not understand their words, but she could tell they were not talking about a normal wolf shift. The Alpha King raised his voice so all could hear. "Bring her to the Moonstone Chamber," he said. The crowd gasped. The Moonstone Chamber was sacred. No ordinary wolf was ever taken there. Only royal blood or ancient beings were allowed near it. The elders looked worried, but they obeyed. Lyra felt fear, confusion, and a strange spark of hope. She did not know why the king wanted her taken there. She did not know what was happening inside her. But she knew one thing for sure: this night was not over. The guards guided her out of the arena, not as someone rejected, but as someone being watched very carefully. Outside, the night wind brushed against her face. Lyra looked back at the glowing arena and whispered softly to herself, "I felt something. I know I did." She didn't know if she was right. She didn't know if she was in danger. But she knew this was the first time something inside her had answered. Even if only for a moment. And somewhere deep beneath her fear, a small flame of curiosity began to burn. Whatever she was, it was about to be revealed. And the clans were not ready for it. The Moonstone Chamber was unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. The walls glowed faintly with silver light, etched with patterns that pulsed softly under the moonlight. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something ancient, like the breath of the world itself. Lyra stepped inside, guided by two silent guards, her heart pounding with nervous energy. She had no idea why the Alpha King had chosen her for this place, but something told her it was important. The chamber was enormous, bigger than any hall she had seen in the capital. The ceiling arched high above, carved with moonlit symbols that seemed to shift when she looked at them. At the center lay a circular stone, polished smooth and glowing faintly blue. It hummed softly, a sound that vibrated in her chest. Lyra's breath caught. She had never felt anything like this before. The guard stepped back, leaving her alone. She turned slowly, taking in the light, the symbols, and the strange warmth that filled the chamber. It felt alive. And then she heard a voice, not spoken aloud but inside her mind. "Lyra," it whispered. She froze. Her heart skipped a beat. She looked around. The chamber was empty. Only the glow of the moonstone lit the room. She whispered, "Who's there?" The voice came again, soft like a breeze through leaves. "I am inside you. You are ready now." Lyra shook her head. "I'm not ready. I can't." She stopped. The truth hit her like a cold wave. This was the same force that had stirred in the arena. The same energy she had felt when she tried to shift and failed. It had been waiting, hidden, silent, but alive. The blue glow from the moonstone pulsed brighter. The symbols on the walls shimmered. Lyra felt a warmth growing inside her chest, spreading outward. Her hands shook. Her legs trembled. This was power, ancient, raw, and more than she had ever imagined. Suddenly the air around her rippled. Tiny sparks of silver light danced across the floor. Lyra gasped. She reached out toward the glowing circle at the center, and the energy responded. It swirled around her fingers, wrapping her hand in warmth and light. She yanked it back in shock, but it lingered, pulsing with her heartbeat. The voice whispered again. "Do not fear it. You are not Wolfless. You have always carried me. You only needed to listen." Lyra swallowed hard. "Listen? To what?" she asked. "To your blood. To your soul. To what you were born to be." The chamber hummed with power. Her own heartbeat matched the rhythm of the glow around her. Lyra realized something incredible. The energy inside her was not ordinary. It was ancient. It was strong. And it had been waiting for centuries to awaken. Outside the chamber, the Alpha King stood silently, watching through the observation window. His golden eyes were sharp, unblinking. He had felt the stir of power from the arena, and now he felt it again, stronger and closer. Even the elders who had come with him hesitated at the threshold, sensing the energy but unable to understand it. Inside, Lyra felt the energy swell, filling her chest, her arms, and her legs. She fell to her knees, overwhelmed. Sparks of light danced around her, flowing from the moonstone to her body and back again. The room seemed to breathe with her. She could hear the whispering voice again, this time stronger, more insistent. "Trust yourself. Trust what is inside." Lyra closed her eyes. She remembered the countless nights she had tried to shift, the shame of being called Wolfless, the laughter and whispers of the clans. And now she understood. She had never been weak. She had never been broken. She had only been waiting. Waiting for this moment, for her blood to awaken, for her own power to choose her. She took a deep breath. When she opened her eyes, the chamber glowed brighter. The symbols on the walls shined with silver and blue. She felt herself lift slightly off the ground, though her knees were still on the stone floor. The energy inside her pulsed, waiting for her command. And then she spoke. "I am ready," she whispered. The chamber responded instantly. Light flared around her, spinning, twisting, growing. The walls seemed to stretch and ripple. Lyra felt a heat surge through her body. Her fingers glowed faintly. Her hair lifted in a gentle wind that came from nowhere. The voice inside her whispered, urgent and excited. "You are more than you know. You are the bloodline they feared. You are the beginning. Lyra's mind raced. She did not fully understand what the voice meant, but she felt the truth of it in every part of her. This energy, this power was hers. It had always been hers. And now it was awake. She looked down at her hands. The glow intensified, flowing along her arms. Sparks of silver shot out, trailing in the air like tiny comets. The chamber shuddered. A small stone tile cracked beneath her knee. Lyra gasped but did not panic. She felt alive in a way she had never known. The Alpha King's eyes widened. He stepped back slightly. Even he had not seen this level of power in centuries. Many had tried to awaken the ancient bloodline using spells, artifacts, or ritual. None had succeeded. And now, in a small, seemingly ordinary girl, the force was alive again. Lyra rose to her feet, trembling but strong. She felt a connection with the chamber, with the moonstone, with the air and the walls. The energy inside her was not chaotic. It listened to her, waited for her to control it, to guide it. She raised her arms slightly. A pulse of light shot upward from the moonstone, circling her like a crown of silver fire. The chamber glowed so brightly that even through the observation window, the Alpha King and elders had to shield their eyes. Lyra smiled, feeling more alive than ever. I can feel it, she whispered. It's mine. All of it is mine. The chamber vibrated, humming like a distant drum. The energy wrapped around her, and for the first time she felt whole. No whispers of wolflessness. No shame. No fear. Only power waiting for her command. Outside, the Alpha King spoke softly to the elder beside him. This is not a child. This is something older. Something they feared for a reason. She carries the bloodline of the first wolves. The prime blood. The elder's eyes widened. But that is impossible. It has been lost for centuries. The Alpha King's gaze remained fixed on the chamber. It is not lost anymore. Inside, Lyra felt her body tremble with the energy she had carried her entire life. It was overwhelming, yes, but it was not dangerous. It was hers. And now she understood what the whispers inside her had been trying to tell her all these years. A sudden pulse of light shot from her chest. The glow spread across the chamber, racing along the walls and floor. Lyra gasped. She had not meant to release it. But the energy flowed through her like a river finally freed from a dam. And yet it did not harm her. It listened. It obeyed. The voice inside her whispered again, calm and steady. You are the beginning. The first in generations. You are ready. Lyra's chest rose and fell rapidly, but her eyes shone with determination. She had felt it. She had held it. And now the world would see her true power. The Alpha King stepped closer to the observation window, leaning forward. He had seen many things in his long life, but nothing like this. The small girl, trembling and unsure, had awakened a force that had not walked among the living for centuries. And it had chosen her. Lyra stood tall, the glow fading slowly from the chamber but leaving her hands tingling with residual power. She knew this was only the beginning. The clans would whisper. The elders would fear. And enemies would rise when they felt the energy she now carried. But Lyra did not care. She had finally seen herself clearly. She was not wolfless. She was more than anyone could imagine. And when the time came, the galaxy would understand why the Alpha King had chosen to bring her to the Moonstone Chamber. She smiled, whispering softly, I am ready. And for the first time in her life, Lyra believed it. The night was colder than usual. The arena lay empty under the silver glow of the full moon. Lyra stood in the center, her heart pounding. Tonight was the night she would try again. Tonight she would shift, or at least she hoped she could. Every eye of the clans watched from the shadows. Some whispered doubt. Some whispered fear. But all waited. Even the Alpha King, seated high above the arena, was silent, watching closely. Lyra clenched her fists. She had spent days in the Moonstone Chamber. She had felt the ancient energy inside her, and it had grown stronger. Every day she practiced controlling it, listening to the voice in her mind. It told her to be patient, to breathe, to trust. But standing here in the arena with everyone watching, she felt the old fear creeping back. She was supposed to be the wolfless girl. What if the shift failed again? The wind stirred, brushing her hair across her face. She closed her eyes and tried to calm herself. She remembered the pulse of power from the chamber, the warmth and light, and the whisper that said, you are ready. She breathed in slowly. She breathed out. And she listened. Inside her, the strange energy stirred. It had been quiet for so long, but now it hummed and throbbed like a drum. She could feel her heartbeat sync with it. Her fingers tingled. Her legs felt light. The ground beneath her feet seemed to hum. She opened her eyes. The moonlight struck her face, making her hair glow silver. She whispered softly, "I am ready." At first nothing happened. The crowd held their breath. The Alpha King leaned forward, his golden eyes fixed on her. The elders muttered among themselves, anxious. Lyra's chest tightened. The familiar flutter inside her rose, a spark, faint but real. She focused on it, imagining the wolf form she had never seen. She imagined the strength, the speed, the teeth, the claws, and the fur shining under the moonlight. She imagined herself whole. The spark grew. Her body shook. Her hands glowed faintly. The air around her vibrated. The stone floor beneath her cracked slightly, tiny lines spreading like lightning. Whispers ran through the crowd. She's trying. Can it be? Lyra felt a sudden surge of heat from her chest. She doubled over slightly, clutching it. The energy roared inside her, asking for release. She didn't fight it. She let it flow. Her knees left the ground. The arena floor pulsed with light. The air shimmered and the shadows around her seemed to twist. Then it happened. Her body expanded and stretched. Silver fur sprouted across her arms and legs. Her hands turned into powerful paws. Claws extended, sharp and shining. Her face elongated into a wolf's, but unlike any wolf the clans had seen. Her eyes glowed gold, bright and intelligent. Her ears twitched, sensing the wind, the whispers, and the heartbeat of the world itself. The crowd gasped. Even the Alpha King's lips parted in surprise. Lyra's wolf form was massive, larger than any wolf in memory. Patterns of luminous silver etched across her fur, shimmering with the moonlight. She raised her head and let out a howl that made the air vibrate. The sound was deep and commanding, yet full of a strange beauty. The arena was silent for a long moment. No one moved. They could hardly believe what they were seeing. Lyra had shifted, and not into an ordinary wolf. She was something ancient, something forgotten, something the stories had called a prime wolf. The bloodline of the first wolves. Lyra trembled, still in her wolf form, but she felt alive. Powerful. Oh. She could feel the energy flowing through her, the earth beneath her paws, the wind against her fur, and the moon above. She closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the form she had never known she could be. The Alpha King stood slowly from his throne. His golden eyes shone, and for the first time, he lowered his head in respect. Even he, the ruler of the clans, had never seen a shift like this. He had heard the legends, the stories of prime wolves, but none had walked the lands in centuries. And now, one stood before him, born in secrecy and awakened in the moonlight. Lyra opened her eyes and looked around. The crowd still stared, wide-eyed and frozen. Some fell to their knees, unsure if they were showing respect or fear. Others whispered prayers. Even the elders who had doubted her seemed unable to speak. She took a step forward, feeling the power in her legs and paws. The ground trembled slightly under her weight, but she felt no fear. This was her. She had carried this inside her all her life, waiting for the moment to awaken. She had been called Wolfless, laughed at, scorned, but now no one could deny her. Lyra lifted her head to the moon. Her howl came again, longer this time, echoing across the valley. The stars seemed to shine brighter in response. The clans had never heard a wolf like this before. Not a human wolf, not an ordinary wolf, but a being of power and majesty. And then, slowly she shifted back. Her massive wolf form shrank, and she returned to human shape. She fell to her knees, breathing hard, her hair glowing silver from the residual energy. But even in human form, the glow in her eyes remained. She was still powerful. She was still whole. The arena erupted into whispers, then shouts, then awe. Some ran to bow at her feet. Others simply stood, mouths open, unable to speak. Lyra felt a strange smile tug at her lips. She had done it. She had finally shifted. The Alpha King descended from his throne, walking toward her. His golden eyes studied her, measuring her strength, her courage, and the energy still thrumming inside her. He stopped before her and lowered his head slightly. "You are more than I imagined," he said quietly. "The first wolves have returned." Lyra looked up at him, still trembling but proud. I'm Lyra," she said. "I am ready." The Alpha King nodded. "You have proven yourself tonight. Not only to the clans but to the world. The power you carry, it is ancient and it is yours." The whispers in the arena grew louder. Some were fear. Some were admiration. But all understood the truth. Lyra was no longer the wolfless girl. She was the first in centuries to awaken the prime bloodline. She was strong, she was powerful, and she was a force the clans could not ignore. Lyra rose slowly, feeling the pulse of energy still inside her. She knew she had to learn control to master the power fully. But for the first time she also knew she had something no one else had. She had awakened herself. She had claimed what was hers and nothing would take it from her again. The Alpha King stepped aside, gesturing for the crowd to recognize her. Slowly, one by one, the clans bowed. The elders followed. And the Alpha King, he knelt. Lyra felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. She had done what no one thought possible. She had shifted and the world had changed because of it. The moon shone down, silver and bright, and Lyra lifted her face to it. She whispered softly, "This is only the beginning." And deep inside, the energy pulsing in her agreed. It was only the beginning of what she could become. The chamber was quiet after the trial, but Lyra could still feel the energy humming inside her. Even in human form, her hands glowed faintly with silver light. The moon hung high above, shining down on the arena that had witnessed her first shift. She walked carefully, her legs still trembling from the power she had carried moments before. The crowd had dispersed, leaving whispers and awe in their wake. But she was not alone. The Alpha King had stayed behind, observing her with his golden eyes, sharp and unblinking. "You have power few have seen in centuries," he said softly, stepping closer. Lyra looked up, unsure what to say. She had felt the energy, had felt herself shift into a wolf unlike any other, but she did not know why. Why now? Why her? "You are not like the other young wolves," the Alpha King continued. "Not because you failed, but because you were never meant to follow the usual path. You carry something older, something the world has forgotten." Lyra frowned. "Something older? I don't understand. I'm just me." The Alpha King's gaze did not waver. "You are more than you know. You carry the bloodline of the first wolves, the prime blood. It has been lost for generations. The clans believed it extinct, and yet it survived in you." Lyra's eyes widened. "The first wolves? I've only heard stories. They were legends, weren't they?" "Legends, yes," the Alpha King said. "Stories passed down to warn, to inspire, to teach. But the truth is that they were real. And their power was feared. Their strength was unmatched. And they could choose who would carry their blood forward." He paused, studying her face. "That blood is inside you, Lyra. It has always been inside you." Lyra felt a shiver run through her. The power she had felt, the stirrings during the Moonstone trial, the shift that had stunned the clans, it all made sense now. She had not been weak. She had not been cursed. She had been hidden, protected, waiting for this moment. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why would the first wolves choose me?" The Alpha King's expression softened slightly. "Because you were the one who could awaken it. Not through magic. Not through force. But through courage, patience, and heart. You never gave up even when the world told you to fail. That is why the blood chose you." Lyra's chest rose and fell quickly. She tried to imagine what the bloodline meant. If it had been lost for centuries, then she carried power no one else could match. She carried the legacy of the strongest wolves in history, the guardians of the old world. The weight of it pressed on her shoulders, but strangely, it did not scare her. It called to her. The Alpha King gestured toward the walls of the chamber, where silver symbols still glowed faintly. "These markings are from the time of the first wolves. They respond only to the bloodline. The Moonstone trials, the energy you felt, they were all designed to test and awaken you. Few could survive it, and even fewer could master it." Lyra stepped closer to the wall, her fingers brushing the glowing symbols. As she touched them, she felt the energy pulse through her again. It was familiar now, comforting. She could feel the presence of those who had come before her, whispering across time, guiding her. "Your power is not only for you," the Alpha King said. "It is for all the clans, for the world. When the bloodline awakens, it changes everything. Those who fear it may resist, but those who understand it will follow. And there are dangers. Forces that will seek to claim or destroy it. You must learn to control it before they come." Lyra swallowed hard. She had imagined many challenges in her life, but never this. She was just a girl who had been called wolfless, shamed, and doubted. And now she carried the blood of the first wolves. And with that blood came responsibility and danger, and a future she could not yet see. The Alpha King knelt slightly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You will not face this alone. I will guide you. The elders will teach what they can, and the clans will learn to respect you. But you must understand, this is only the beginning." Lyra nodded, though fear and excitement twisted together in her stomach. She looked down at her hands, glowing faintly, and felt the pulse of energy thrumming inside her. This was hers. This was real. She was no longer the wolfless girl. She was the heir to something ancient and powerful, something that had waited centuries to return. A soft rumble filled the chamber and Lyra turned. The moonstone in the center glowed brighter than before. Tiny sparks of light rose from it, floating like fireflies. She felt a tug in her chest. The energy inside her resonated with the stone, as if recognizing its ancient kin. She lifted her hand and let the silver light wrap around her fingers. She could feel the power responding to her thoughts, her will. "You see it now," the Alpha King said. "You are not powerless. You are the key to a future no one thought possible. The clans feared the prime blood, but they will learn to follow if you show them the way." Lyra's mind raced. She imagined the trials she had failed before, the laughter of her peers, the whispers of the elders. She had been mocked and rejected, but it had not been her weakness that defined her, it had been the secrecy of her bloodline. Now it was awake. Now it was visible. Now the world had to recognize her. The Alpha King's voice softened. "There is much to teach you. Control, focus, discipline. But also understanding, mercy, and wisdom." The first wolves were not only powerful, they were guardians. They protected the balance of the world. You must do the same. Lyra clenched her fists, determination rising in her chest. "I will," she whispered. "I will learn. I will control it. And I will not let the bloodline fall into the wrong hands." The Alpha King nodded, his golden eyes reflecting pride. "Good. That is the first lesson. Power alone is dangerous. It must be guided by purpose." A sudden breeze stirred the chamber, carrying with it a faint scent of pine and earth. Lyra inhaled deeply and felt the energy inside her respond, pulsing like a living heartbeat. It was not frightening anymore. It was hers and it listened. It had waited for centuries to answer to her call. The elders had entered quietly, their expressions a mixture of awe and concern. One stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Lyra, the clans will need time to understand. But with the Alpha King's guidance and with your courage, they will accept you. You are the first in generations to awaken the prime bloodline." Lyra straightened, her hands still glowing faintly. She felt a strange mixture of pride and responsibility. She had been called Wolfless, mocked and doubted. But now she carried the legacy of the strongest wolves who had ever lived. And she knew that nothing would ever make her feel small again. The Alpha King turned toward the chamber doors. "The world outside will challenge you. Enemies will seek your power, and even allies may hesitate. But you have the bloodline, Lyra. You have the courage. And now, the first wolves are alive in you once more." Lyra nodded, feeling the energy pulse through her chest like a steady drum. She felt alive, powerful, and ready. The path ahead would not be easy, but she had finally seen herself clearly. She was not wolfless. She was the heir of the first wolves. She was the beginning of something new. The moonlight filtered through the chamber windows, casting silver shadows across her face. Lyra raised her hand slowly, feeling the energy respond to her touch. She whispered softly, "I understand now. I am ready." The Alpha King smiled faintly, a rare expression. "Then let the clans see. Let them know the bloodline is not lost. Let them kneel to what they once feared, and let them follow the new guardian of our world." Lyra looked toward the doors, toward the world that had doubted her. She felt the pulse of power thrumming in her hands, in her chest, in every part of her. The first wolves had returned, and she would make sure the world remembered their strength, and her own. She took a deep breath, ready to step forward. The ancient bloodline inside her was awake, and nothing would ever be the same again. The sun rose slowly over the valley, casting long golden light across the arena. Lyra stood at its center, no longer the small, trembling girl they had called Wolfless. She had trained for weeks, mastering her prime wolf form, learning to control the energy that pulsed in her veins. Her silver fur now shimmered faintly even in human form, a sign of her strength. The clans had gathered once again, watching in silence, waiting to see what she would do next. The Alpha King stood beside her, tall and proud but no longer above her. He had taught her what he could, guided her through the lessons of power and responsibility, but he had also stepped aside, letting her lead. Tonight was not about trials or whispers. Tonight was about proving that a new era had begun. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the energy stir within her chest. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the pulse of the world, to the heartbeat of the clans, to the moon above. She could feel the wind, the stones beneath her feet, and the power that had once been hidden inside her. She was ready. A low rumble rose from the crowd. The clans had sensed her awakening, her growth, and her mastery. Many of them had come to respect her, but some still doubted. The whispers of fear lingered in the air, faint but persistent. Lyra opened her eyes and stepped forward. She raised her arms slowly, and the energy inside her responded immediately. Silver light spread across the arena, flowing like water around her. Sparks of power danced in the air, reflecting off the stone walls and the faces of the watching clans. The Alpha King watched silently, knowing that this moment would change everything. Lyra felt the pull in her chest, the call of her prime wolf form. She let it flow freely, letting herself transform. Silver fur sprouted across her body, her muscles expanded, her claws sharpened, and her eyes glowed golden. She towered above the humans and wolves alike, her form majestic and commanding. The air trembled with her presence. The clans gasped. Some stumbled back in fear. Others dropped to their knees, awe and respect mixing in their expressions. No one had ever seen a wolf like this. Not in generations. The first wolves had returned in her, and she was more powerful than even the legends had described. The Alpha King knelt as well, his head bowed, his eyes bright with pride and understanding. Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had once feared him, once feared the weight of his authority. But now he knelt not out of obligation, but out of respect for what she had become. Lyra lifted her head high, her golden eyes scanning the arena. She could feel the energy of every wolf, every human, every being present. They waited for her to lead, to guide, to show them the path forward. And she understood. She was not just a leader of her own kind. She was the bridge between two worlds, humans and wolves, clans and outsiders, past and future. She howled, a deep, resonant sound that shook the valley. The wind carried it across the mountains, across the forests, across the rivers. It was not a warning. It was a declaration. The first wolves were awake again, and they had chosen her as their guide. The clans listened in silence, their fear melting into admiration. Even those who had doubted her, who had whispered that she was wolfless, bowed their heads. Lyra's energy filled the arena, filling their hearts with courage and awe. She felt their loyalty growing, their trust shifting from fear to belief. The Alpha King stood beside her once more, his expression serious. "Lyra," he said, "you have awakened what no one thought possible. You have united the clans with your strength and your courage. You have proven that the bloodline of the first wolves still lives." Lyra nodded, her chest rising and falling steadily. "I am ready," she said. "Ready to protect the clans, to guide them, and to show the world that humans and wolves can work together. We do not need to fear each other. We need to stand together." The clans murmured among themselves. Some nodded. Some raised their heads in pride. Lyra could feel their hearts opening, their trust forming. She stepped forward, allowing the energy to flow outward, connecting her to everyone present. The silver light shimmered across the arena, a visible bond linking all those who stood there. She shifted back into human form, her silver hair glowing faintly, her golden eyes still bright. Even in this form, her presence was commanding. She raised her hands and the light around her pulsed with her heartbeat. The clans understood without words. She was their alpha now, their leader, their bridge to a new future. A distant rumble echoed through the valley. Lyra sensed it immediately. Enemies, waiting beyond the mountains, had felt the awakening of the first wolves. They would come. But she did not fear them. Not anymore. She had the bloodline, the courage, and the loyalty of the clans. She had a power that had been lost for centuries. And she had learned to control it. The Alpha King placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are ready," he said simply. "Lead them. Protect them. And remember, strength is nothing without wisdom." Lyra smiled faintly. "I will," she whispered. "I will lead them well." The clans knelt together, a unified show of respect and trust. Not as individuals forced by authority, but as followers who believed in her power and her heart. Even the Alpha King knelt again, not as a ruler, but as a companion acknowledging her strength. Lyra raised her head to the moon above. The light washed over her, silver and warm. She could feel the energy of the first wolves still pulsing inside her, guiding her, giving her strength. She had once been the girl they called Wolfless. Now she was the alpha of two worlds, the humans and the wolves, the past and the future, the old and the new. The wind stirred, carrying the scent of pine, earth, and the wild energy of the mountains. Lyra took a deep breath. She could feel the pulse of life in every tree, every stone, every creature. The world was alive and she was ready to guide it. The clans began to rise, slowly at first, then more confidently. They bowed to her, not out of fear but out of trust and respect. Lyra felt the bond grow stronger. She was no longer alone. She had followers, allies, and a purpose. She shifted briefly, silver fur flashing, golden eyes glowing. The energy pulsed outward, visible even to those farthest in the valley. Lyra howled once, and the sound carried beyond the mountains, announcing her awakening, her leadership, and the beginning of a new era. The Alpha King stepped aside, his expression proud. "The world has changed," he said. "And it begins with you." Lyra nodded, feeling the energy inside her settle into a calm rhythm. She had faced doubt, shame, and fear. She had been called Wolfless, but now she had proven herself beyond measure. She was not just a survivor. She was a leader, a guardian, a bridge between two worlds. She looked across the valley, across the clans, across the mountains where danger might be waiting. She did not feel fear. She felt readiness, courage, and determination. Whatever challenges came, she would face them. She would guide her people. She would protect the balance. She would show the world the power of the first wolves reborn in her. The moonlight glinted off her silver hair, the golden glow of her eyes brightened, and the energy of the first wolves hummed around her. Lyra smiled faintly, feeling complete. She had transformed not just in body but in spirit. She was the Alpha of two worlds, and nothing would ever be the same again. The clans cheered, their voices echoing across the mountains. The Alpha King nodded in respect, and Lyra felt the bond between them strengthen. She lifted her head once more, silver hair shining, golden eyes bright, and whispered softly, "This is our future. Together we are stronger." The wind carried her words, the energy shimmered, and the valley seemed to hum in response. Lyra knew that this was only the beginning, but for the first time in her life she felt ready. The wolfless girl had vanished. In her place stood a leader, a prime wolf reborn, and the new Alpha of two worlds.